All right, today we are putting artificial intelligence on the witness stand. The charge? Well, you could say it's attempting to practice law. We're going to investigate a really critical question for our times. Can an AI truly handle the complex, nuanced, and super high-stakes world of legal reasoning? Okay, let's dive right in.
Look, this isn't some far-off science fiction thing anymore. It's a question that legal experts and AI developers are seriously grappling with right now. So could you, or maybe more importantly, should you, ever trust an algorithm with your legal fate? Let's find out.
Okay, so take a look at this. This quote shows you exactly where things can go sideways. An advanced AI, Claude 1, is analyzing the trademark trim. And its reasoning sounds pretty plausible. It says it suggests what the product does. But here's the catch. Any trademark lawyer will tell you that's flat out wrong. Trim directly describes what nail clippers do. That makes it a descriptive mark, not a suggestive one. It's a subtle difference for sure, but it has massive legal consequences. And it's this exact kind of mistake that puts the whole idea of an AI lawyer on trial.
So yeah, large language models, you've probably heard them called LLMs, they're not coming. They're already here. People are using them for legal research, for drafting documents, you name it. But as we just saw, their reliability is a huge, huge open question, and the legal community is definitely starting to pay attention.
I mean, think about it, right? An AI can write a fantastic email. It can even write some pretty decent code. But the law is a whole different ballgame. It demands absolute, unwavering precision. There's just no room for close enough. The stakes, we're talking about your rights, your money, even your freedom, are simply way too high for these kinds of subtle, yet potentially catastrophic mistakes.
And this brings us to a really fascinating problem that AI researchers call hallucination. Basically, it's when an AI confidently states something that is completely and totally wrong. Sometimes it even invents facts out of thin air, or in this case, makes up entire legal cases that don't exist. You can imagine, right? A lawyer that hallucinates, that's a pretty terrifying thought.
And these hallucinations, they come in a few different flavors. The AI might just get the final answer wrong, or maybe it gets a crucial step in the middle of its reasoning wrong. It might invent a piece of information that was never in the case file to begin with, or it could just completely misremember what a law actually says. Any one of these slip-ups could totally derail a case. See, the problem isn't just that they fail, it's that we don't always know how they're going to fail, and that's a risk we just can't take, unless we can test for it.
So, okay, if these AIs are going to be playing in the legal sandbox, we need a way to actually test them. We can't just unleash them and cross our fingers. We need some kind of rigorous, standardized exam to see if they're even remotely up to the task.
So what's the solution? Well, what if we could create something like the bar exam? That brutal rite of passage test that all human lawyers have to pass, but design it specifically for these AI models. A test that could systematically figure out if they can actually reason like a lawyer.
And that is exactly what Legal Bench is. It's not just one little test. It's this massive, collaboratively built suite of over 160 different legal tests. It was put together by experts from both law and AI, all working together to create a comprehensive stress test for these models. All right, so let's step inside this legal gauntlet. What kinds of challenges are we actually throwing at these AIs to see if they can really, truly think like a lawyer? At its core, legal reasoning really boils down to these 3 steps. First, you got to remember the correct law. That's rule recall. Then, you have to apply that law to the very specific, unique facts of your case. That's rule application. And finally, you draw a conclusion based on all that. Legal Bench is designed to test every single one of those steps. And these tasks get incredibly specific. Take this one, identifying a J.Crew blocker. This isn't something you can just guess. It's a highly specialized clause buried in complex corporate loan agreements. An AI has to read a dense paragraph of pure legalese and figure out if it contains the specific language that stops a company from, pulling a fast one on its lenders. This tests some seriously deep domain-specific knowledge. Then you've got the more conceptual challenges. Let's circle back to our trim example. Legal Bench actually tests if an AI can tell the difference between a descriptive mark, like sharp for a TV, and a suggestive one, like Greyhound for a bus service. It's a really fine line, and it requires a kind of abstract thinking. The million-dollar question is, can an AI do that consistently? So, the tests are all set. The AIs have sat for the exam. How did they do? Let's take a look at the report card.
on one particularly nasty task involving hearsay, which is a core legal rule about what kind of statements can be used in court. Smaller AI models scored a pretty dismal 33%. That's a failing grade, no doubt about it, and it shows a real fundamental misunderstanding of a key legal concept. But here's where it gets really interesting. You give that exact same test to a much more powerful model, like GPT-4, and the score jumps all the way to 75%. Now, it's not perfect, but that is a massive improvement. And it tells us something really important. Capability matters. A lot. The more advanced the model, the better it performs. And this bar chart, well, it really drives the point home. If you look at that trademark classification task we were just talking about, you can see GPT-4 is the clear frontrunner, over 85% accurate. But other leading models like GPT 3.5 and Claude 1, they're lagging pretty far behind. The takeaway here is crystal clear. Not all AIs are created equal, especially when it comes to legal reasoning.
Okay, we've seen the evidence. We have reviewed the test results. So, what's the final verdict? Is an AI ready to stand up in court and say, "I'll be your lawyer"?
The potential upside here is still huge. I mean, think about all the routine tasks like sifting through thousands of documents to find one piece of information, a job that's usually given to first-year law associates. AI could be a total game changer for that. Imagine an AI doing that work almost instantly and doing it perfectly every time. That could dramatically lower legal costs and make basic legal help way more accessible for everyone.
So here's where we land, at least for today. An AI is not a lawyer. It's an assistant. A very, very powerful one, but an assistant nonetheless. It's great at finding information, spotting patterns, and churning out first drafts. But it lacks genuine understanding. It lacks professional judgment, and this is a big one. It lacks the accountability of a human lawyer. It just can't replace that core legal mind, at least not yet.
And that leaves us with this one last big question. As this technology barrels forward, is it ultimately going to level the playing field, making justice cheaper and easier to access for everybody? Or will it just introduce a whole new layer of complexity, error, and inequity into a system that's already pretty darn complicated? The verdict on that is still out.